So last week I paid £15 to see if I could use Claude CoWork to help me do my job. Sprint reports, file cleanup, meeting notes, so things that don't really bring me joy. Some of it was genuinely impressive, but some of it was a bit of a mess. So here's what actually worked and what you need to know before paying it yourself. Claude CoWork is essentially Cloud Code but with a sexier interface. Give it access to a folder, it can read, write, and edit files. The key difference between ChatGPT is that it takes action and not just generate text. And it launched recently in January 2026, which is eternity in AI days. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is analyze some sprint data that I exported from Jira. So if I copy and paste that here, and then I put this prompt, analyze this Jira sprint export and provide key insights. Completion rate, patterns in what got done versus what didn't, flag any scope changes mid-sprint additions, list blockers and their impact, and note carryover items and likely reasons. And we're gonna and here's the output that we have. Sprint 47 analysis, completion rate, story count 50%, performance below team average previous 32 to 35 story points. What got done versus what didn't, incomplete items, scope changes, 3 items, 16 points added. Blockers and impact, critical issues, 15 points, 39% of committed work blocked by infrastructure dependencies. Carryover items, 8 items, 34 points. And key takeaways, dependency bottleneck, infrastructure work is blocking 40% of the sprint. Scope discipline, 16 points added mid-sprint, undermined planning. Team overcommit 38 points, exceeded recent velocity of 32 to 35, and priority management. Team successfully pivoted to hotfix, but at cost of planned work. Okay, secondly, what we're going to do is ask it to analyze some flow metrics. So here's what I exported from Jira, and here is my prompt. Analyze this flow metrics data and identify bottlenecks. Calculate cycle time percentiles, identify work items aging beyond normal ranges, check if work in progress is within limits, compare throughput, the sprint versus recent trends, highlight which workflow states are slowest, focus on actionable insights for process improvement. Okay, so here's the output. Flow metrics analysis sprint 47, cycle time percentiles, the median's 8.5 days. For the current, 95th percentiles at 19.3 days, ranges 3 to 21 days, and change in range, high variability. For our median, we're 21% slower. And we have here work items aging beyond normal, critical. 4 out of 8 work in progress items are aging beyond 10 days. It's not good, it's very slow. Mostly due to infrastructure dependency, stuck in development with no progress, and rework cycle. Work in progress status limit, we're over the limit. We have 8 items, but our limit is 5. That's not good, so we're not following our WIP limits. The throughput comparison, so assume this is the baseline. So we've increased here by 75% and decreased here by minus 71%. And there's not enough data, so I guess, so this is fine. Slowest workflow states is development, primary bottleneck, review, 1.6 days. It's taking a bit longer to do code reviews. QA is fast but underutilized. Only 3 of 18 items went through QA, and it suggested some process improvements. Clear blocked items, reduce work in progress to 5, investigate project 112, 11 days in dev is extreme, pair program or break down the work, short term next sprint, improve review quality, dev capacity analysis, balance QA usage. Only 17% of items go through QA, define clear QA criteria, and systemic issues, dependency management, predictability goal, throughput stability. And it's just summarized the risks. Capacity drain, 24 dev days locked in blocked items, work in progress breach 60% over limit, reducing flow efficiency. Throughput collapse, week 3 drop signal systemic issue. This may not be so right, but fine. Aging work, 50% of work in progress exceeding healthy cycle times. And the third use case is analyzing sprint data for stakeholder reporting. So I'll just copy this prompt here. You are analyzing sprint data for stakeholder reporting. Input sprint CSV export from Jira. The output required is an executive summary with 3 bullet points: completion rate, velocity trend compared to team average, top risk or concern, detailed breakdown, story point completion, points completed, carry over items, blockers encountered, sprint additions, key wins, recommendations, what to address next sprint, process improvements needed, and the file to use is this file under the folder that I specified. Okay, so now let's have a look at the stakeholder report. Okay, so what we have here is the Sprint 47 stakeholder report for the sprint duration 6 to 19 with a team of 5. The executive summary of completion rate delivered 25 of 38 committed points, 66% below target due to infrastructure dependencies blocking 40% of planned work. Okay. Velocity concern, performance down from team average of 32 to 35 points to 25 points, signaling capacity constraints. We only have data for 3 sprints, so this should be okay. Top risk, infrastructure items, API gateway, key management are blocking 5 feature stories worth 15 points with ripple effects into next sprint. And now what we have here is all the boring stuff that no one is probably going to read. A detailed breakdown with a story point completion. 8 of 16 stories completed, 8 stories carried over to next sprint, 25 of 38 committed points delivered, 34 points rolling into the next sprint includes carryover and incomplete work. So this depends on the sprint planning. Carryover items are the ones with infrastructure dependencies, scope management issues, late stakeholder request added, insufficient time to complete because it was added again mid-sprint, capacity planning added, dark mode toggle not started due to team focus on blocked items, which is good because you should always focus on whatever is blocking the team from delivering. What the blockers were encountered, cross-team dependencies not identified during sprint planning, resulting in sequential rather than parallel work. This happens quite a lot in software development. Sprint additions, impact adding 16 points mid-sprint, 42% increase over original 38-point commitment, contributed to velocity reduction and forced reprioritization. At least there were key wins of critical payment bug resolved, core infrastructure delivered, and responsive to urgency. Team effectively pivoted to handle unplanned high priority work while maintaining quality on completed items. And there are some recommendations here. Well, unblock infrastructure dependencies, need to be more disciplined with our scope, capacity right sizing, next sprint commit to 30 points maximum until velocity stabilizes, reserve 10 to 15% capacity buffer for unplanned work, process improvements needed, dependency mapping planning, work breakdown standards, stakeholder communication, and honestly that's really good. With regards to the focus for the coming sprint, I suppose this was what is intended to be worked on next sprint, but it may change due to sprint planning. But assuming we're going to carry over stuff, we're going to work on infrastructure items to unblock the pipeline, deliver 3 high-value carryover features, limit new work to 15 points maximum to protect capacity for carryover completion, and success metrics, 0 items blocked by dependencies complete 95% of committed points, and return to 32 plus velocity baseline. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good report. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is analyzing a 15 email thread about whether to build a feature X or feature Y. So let me copy paste here. Read this email thread and create a decision log. Output required, decision made, what was decided, final reasoning, key arguments, who said what, action items, open questions, format concise, use bullet points, make it easy to reference later, and use the folder email thread future decision. So this is a classic 15 email thread about whether to build feature X or feature Y. product engineering, design all weighing in, conversations sprawling across 3 days, multiple side threads. Manually, it would probably take 20-30 minutes to read, extract the decision action items. And of course, someone's going to ask, what did we actually decide on next week? So let's see what Claude uses. And here you can see all the data. So the feature decision log with the date, Q1 feature priority, AI search versus advanced filters, decision made, AI search MVP 4-week timeline, 42 to 87% success rate combined with customer feedback revealing even enterprise accounts preferred AI search over advanced filters. Team pivoted from initial concerns to unanimous support, showing here key arguments for AI research and against. Who said what? Our CEO made the final call after Mike's position shifted. Marcus Chen, product lead, Mike Johnson, backend lead, pushed for AI search from the start. Mike, the backend lead, opposed due to timeline concerns. Sarah Chen, strong supporter. Me, provided data forwarded critical customer feedback from Acme Corp. And here are the action items. It's pretty cool. Open questions, unresolved, advanced filters, long-term infrastructure, pricing impact, scope and expansion. MVP must have product search only 80% accuracy, less than 500 millisecond response time. Q2 nice to have. Okay, so after quickly analyzing this, it nailed following the thread chronologically, despite it having so many odd things. It extracted the final decision correctly, which is good. It identified action items. It listed all the stakeholders involved. It saved probably 15 minutes of manual reading and note-taking. Honestly, this is perfect for I need to catch up on this thread moments. CoWork gets you 80% there, decision, action items, who said what, but you still need to read the thread, especially if a decision is critical. It's a time saver, not a replacement for actually following the conversation. There are 3 types of task where CoWork is genuinely useful. Number 1 is high volume, low stakes type of work. So that's organizing 200 screenshots, renaming 50 files, sorting receipts. It's faster than you and mistakes don't really matter as much. Secondly, there's structured extraction, pulling data from different sources. So there's emails, meeting notes, research docs, CSV files. It finds patterns that you would miss initially unless you are super focused in terms of organizing stuff. And finally, repetitive formatting. Any tasks that you do the same way every week, like those sprint reports, it becomes a reusable prompt. Set it once and use it forever. And of course, you can keep improving. So CoWork saves you time on work that you're capable of doing, but shouldn't have to do. Quotation marks on have on that one. It's not replacing your skills. It's removing the boring parts so you can focus your mind on whatever the most important thing is. So there are 4 ways in which Claude CoWork fell short for me. 1, it's confidently wrong sometimes. In the email thread that we were looking at earlier, it missed a part where the decision maker actually made the opposite decision on what it said it read on the email. You have to review everything, especially when it comes to key decisions. Secondly, context does not transfer as easily. It doesn't have tacit knowledge in terms of how your organization works or how the people you interact with at work works or why things are done a certain way. Thirdly, it gave generic insights. So with regards to the sprint recommendation, it gave some useful insights without actually knowing what's going on the ground. You still have to rely on your own knowledge you still have to rely on your ground knowledge to give the recommendation. And finally, you're still a supervisor. Every action that you do requires approval. That's good for safety. Don't expect it to hand work and walk away. You're viewing output, not delegating tasks. Know the difference. So who is it actually for? You work with lots of files and documents regularly. You do repetitive formatting and organizing tasks. You're comfortable reviewing AI output critically, and you value your time being saved from boring tasks. And you should skip it if you mainly need conversational AI, so stick with the ChatGPT. But I would argue that Claude is actually better at some points. Secondly, you don't work with local files as much. Thirdly, you're not comfortable with giving AI system access. And finally, if you're on a tight budget, it does cost £15 a month in the UK, $20 in the US for Pro, and it can go upwards of £90 for Claude Max. So with regards to the bigger picture and looking at it longitudinally, CoWork is a part of something big that's happening right now. AI is moving from answering questions to doing actual tasks. ChatGPT 5.2, multi-agent systems, ClaudeBot, which is actually getting crazy right now. The question isn't whether agents are coming. The question is which tasks are worth delegating to AI and which tasks need that delicate human touch. So my take is that we're at the beginning of an agentic era. CoWork is one early example, and I'm quite excited and scared at the same time with what's going to happen in the future. After a week, so I'm keeping Claude CoWork. In fact, I might upgrade to Claude Max because I am using it way more than I used to. I wouldn't call this stage revolutionary, but it definitely saves me a lot of time, and now I have a proper thinking partner with me. Just know what you're getting, a productivity tool, not magic, not yet anyways. If you're curious to try out Claude Pro, start with something low stakes like file organizing, consolidating some notes, summarizing emails, and see if it fits your general workflow. Let me know what you use Claude CoWork for, and if you try it, let me know what you find, because honestly I'm quite excited once I build in some systems. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you for the next one.